It's a compelling mystery. I still have seen nothing at all to explain what happened to her. It's still as if she's vanished into thin air.
Words cannot describe the anguish and despair that we are feeling as the parents of our beautiful daughter, Madeleine.
After 17 years, Madeleine McCann has finally been found, bringing a bittersweet end to one of the most heartbreaking cases. She disappeared in 2007 while on a family trip in Portugal, sparking a global search. Now, after years of uncertainty, there are answers that could change everything. How was Madeleine finally located after all this time? Join us as we explore the details of her discovery that made the investigators and the family members burst into tears of sadness and horror. The night Madeleine vanished. The case of Madeleine McCann is one of the most followed missing person cases around the globe. Since she disappeared, people everywhere have been following the story, hoping for her safe return. Over the years, there have been many attempts to find her, and while there have been some clues, none have really told us what happened. But now, there are some new pieces of information that might change everything. Before we dive deeper, it's clear that this discovery is only the beginning, and what comes next may be even more unexpected than anyone could have predicted. Madeleine was on a holiday in Portugal with her parents, Kate and Jerry McCann, and her 2-year-old twin siblings, along with a bunch of family friends and their kids. The children were asleep by 8:30 in the evening in a ground-floor apartment, while their parents were dining with friends just 180 feet away. The parents checked on them every now and then, but when Kate checked at 10 o'clock, she found Madeleine was no longer there. Initially, the police thought Madeleine might have had an accident in the apartment and that her parents hid what happened. But by 2008, the authorities had dropped these suspicions due to lack of evidence. The search for Madeleine continued, with the McCanns hiring private detectives after the official search wound down. Then Scotland Yard got involved with Operation Grange, treating her disappearance as a crime by someone they didn't know, possibly a planned kidnapping or a robbery that went wrong. In 2013, Scotland Yard wanted to talk to several people and released pictures of men they were interested in speaking to. This included a man seen carrying a child toward the beach on the night Madeleine disappeared. Shortly after these pictures were shared, Portuguese police started looking into the case again. The investigation had slowed down, but the detectives kept working on some important leads. By 2020, German authorities had identified a man named Christian Bruckner as a main suspect, but he hasn't been charged with anything yet. The disappearance of Madeleine McCann has been in the news a lot, similar to the coverage when Princess Diana died. Madeleine's parents have been under a lot of pressure and have faced false accusations, especially from the tabloid newspapers and on platforms like Twitter. They and their friends ended up getting apologies and payments from some newspapers, and they even spoke at an inquiry into how the press behaves, arguing for stricter rules. Who exactly is Madeleine McCann? Well, she was born in Leicester and was living in Rothley, Leicestershire, with her family when she went missing. Soon after she disappeared, she was made a ward of the court, which means the court could act on her behalf. She's described as having blonde hair and blue-green eyes, a small brown spot on her left calf, and a distinctive dark stripe on the iris of her right eye. Her parents have released pictures of what she might look like as she got older, hoping someone might recognize her. Both of Madeleine's parents are doctors, and they're also Roman Catholics. Kate went to All Saints School, and then Notre Dame High School, and got her medical degree from the University of Dundee. She worked in different medical fields before settling in general practice. Jerry was born in Glasgow, went to Holyrood RC Secondary School, and got a degree in physiology sports science from the University of Glasgow, where he later earned a medical degree. He's a cardiologist at Glenfield Hospital in Leicester. The McCanns met in Glasgow, got married, and had Madeleine in 2003. The twins came along 2 years later in 2005. The McCanns were on holiday with 7 friends and their children, making a group of 9 adults and 8 kids, including the McCanns twins. They usually had dinner together at 8:30 in the resort's tapas restaurant, which led to the media calling their friends the Tapas 7. One of the friends reported seeing a man carrying a child away from the resort 45 minutes before Madeleine was reported missing. This has been one of the key moments people talk about when discussing the case. With so many questions left unanswered, what was going on inside that apartment that no one noticed until it was too late? The apartment where it all happened. They were staying in Praia da Luz, a small village in the Algarve region of Portugal, often called Little Britain because of how many British people own homes or vacation there. They booked their trip through a British holiday company and were staying in an apartment owned by a retired teacher from Liverpool. This was one of several properties the company rented out to tourists. Apartment 5A, located on the ground floor of the 5th building in the Waterside Village complex, was a simple 2-bedroom flat nestled within Mark Warner's Ocean Club Resort. Next door in apartment 5B were Matthew and Rachel Oldfield, while Jane Tanner and Russell O'Brien occupied apartment 5D. The Paynes, along with Diane Webster, resided just above on the first floor. The apartment stood at the intersection of Rua Dr. Agostinho da Silva and Rua Dr. Francisco Gentil Martins, accessible from 2 public streets. The back featured sliding glass doors that opened up to a small balcony overlooking the resort's swimming pool, tennis courts, a tapas bar, and a restaurant. These doors were accessible via a public street, where a small gate and a few steps led down to the balcony and into the apartment. The main entrance to apartment 5A was on the opposite side, facing Rua Dr. Agostinho da Silva. Inside, the McCann's children's bedroom was near this door, which was always kept locked for safety. This bedroom had a window about waist high, fitted with curtains and a metal shutter that could be controlled from inside. Both the curtains and the shutter were kept closed throughout their stay. This window faced a narrow walkway and a parking area for residents, separated from the street by a mere low wall. Madeleine McCann slept in a single bed near the door, away from the window. Her younger siblings were in travel cots in the middle of the room, and there was another single bed under the window. When Madeleine McCann suddenly disappeared, a significant search effort began. Initially, 2 officers from the local police arrived at the resort around 11:30 p.m. from Lagos. By midnight, after they had started searching, they called for backup from the Policia Judiciaria, PJ, from the nearby town of Portimao. Kate McCann noted that the PJ officers arrived just after 1 in the morning. The responding PJ team got there about 10 minutes after being called. They brought along 2 patrol dogs and 4 dogs trained in search and rescue. The urgency led to the cancellation of police leave, and the search extended to local bodies of water, wells, caves, sewers, and old buildings around the town of Praia da Luz. The investigation was overseen by Inspector Goncalo Amaral from the PJ in Portimao. It soon became evident that the initial hours after Madeleine's disappearance were mishandled. No descriptions of Madeleine were sent out to border or marine authorities for several hours, and thorough searches of nearby homes were not conducted immediately. Kate McCann pointed out that the first roadblocks were set up at 10 o'clock the next morning. The police didn't request surveillance footage of the highways or the road from Lagos to Villarreal de Santo Antonio near the Spanish border until much later. Euroscoot, the company monitoring the roads, mentioned they were never asked for this information. It took 5 days for Interpol to release a global alert about Madeleine. Not everyone staying at the resort was questioned. Some later contacted British police to report they hadn't been approached. The initial crime scene, Madeleine's bedroom, was accessed by over 20 individuals before it was officially secured. In response, the Leicestershire Police in the UK, led by Chief Constable Matt Baggett, coordinated the British involvement, although the investigation remained under Portuguese jurisdiction. A strategic group was formed, including representatives from the Serious Organized Crime Agency, the Child Exploitation and Online Protection Center, and the National Police Improvement Agency. Outside the apartment, problems between different police groups began to grow, making the situation even harder. The campaign to find the McCann child. The Portuguese police provided a workspace for the British team, but felt somewhat overshadowed and patronized, perceiving the British actions as overbearing. Initially, the British government sent Cherie Dodd, a former journalist, to handle media relations, followed by Clarence Mitchell. When the government stepped back, the McCanns hired Justine McGuinness and later Hanover Communications, led by Charles Lewington. Brian Kennedy, a businessman, supported the family by funding Mitchell's salary so he could continue working with the McCanns full-time. To facilitate their ongoing search and raise public awareness, the McCanns set up Madeleine's Fund, leaving no stone unturned limited on May 15, 2007. The fund's website quickly gained attention, garnering 58 million hits within the first 2 days. From May to June, the couple's public relations team set up various events to keep the public engaged with their situation. They organized trips to Fatima in Portugal and other countries like Holland, Germany, Spain, and Morocco. They even flew to Rome with reporters on Sir Philip Green's private jet to meet Pope Benedict XVI. This visit was planned by Cardinal Cormac Murphy O'Connor, the Archbishop of Westminster. The next month, people released balloons in 300 cities worldwide to show support. By early June, some journalists started to worry about how well the campaign was run. Matthew Paris, a journalist, noted that the campaign's high efficiency made some reporters uneasy. Having Madeleine on the front page of British newspapers increased sales by up to 30,000 copies each time. Her picture was on the cover of People magazine and featured daily on the front pages of several British newspapers for about 6 months. She was also listed as a topic on Sky News. Between May 2007 and July 2008, a Portuguese newspaper, Correio da Manhã, published 384 articles about her. By June 2008, searching her name on YouTube showed over 3,680 videos and 7 million posts about her. People wondered how all this effort was funded. 12 days after Madeleine disappeared, her parents started Madeleine's Fund, leaving no stone unturned limited. In the first 3 months, over 80 million people visited the fund's website. From September 2007, Brian Kennedy, who owned a window company, supported the couple financially, and his lawyer got involved with the fund's board. The fund hired several private detectives, which didn't sit well with the Portuguese police. Right after Madeleine went missing, someone anonymously paid for a British security company, Control Risks, to help. There were reports of 4 sightings of her in North Africa. Brian Kennedy personally went to Morocco in September 2007 to follow up on one of these tips. A woman from Norway thought she saw Madeleine at a gas station in Marrakesh, Morocco, on May 9, 2007. The girl she saw asked a man in English, "Can we see Mummy soon?" When this woman got back to Spain and heard about Madeleine's disappearance, she called the Spanish police. A month later, nothing had moved forward, which worried Madeleine's parents. They decided to go to Morocco themselves to help bring more attention to her case. They stayed at the British ambassador's house and talked to officials and police there. Kennedy hired a Spanish firm, Metodo 3, paying them £50,000 a month for 6 months. They put 35 detectives on the case in Europe and Morocco. The partnership ended partly because the head of the agency said some things in public that worried Madeleine's parents, like claiming to know who the kidnapper was. Another detective, David Edgar, was hired in 2009. He had been recommended by a top police official. Edgar released a picture of a woman who asked 2 British men in Barcelona if they were there to bring her a new daughter. There were also other efforts, like searching a reservoir near Praia da Luz and using ground radar to check under a driveway in 2012. The scans suggested there might be bones under there. Madeleine's Fund also worked with Oakley International, a detective agency from Washington, D.C. They paid them over £500,000 for 6 months of work. The team, led by Henry Exton, a former British police officer who had worked with MI5, did undercover work and investigated several leads. As the investigation moved forward, the media's focus and growing doubts about the McCanns made things even tougher for them. Fresh clues and suspicions in the case. Exton decided to focus more on a sighting by Martin and Mary Smith, who saw a man carrying a child towards the beach, rather than another reported sighting. Public debate was hot about the parents' possible role when Martin Smith saw Jerry McCann carrying his son and thought he might be the man he had seen before. He told the police, but later thought he might have been wrong. In November 2008, Exton wanted to release the pictures they had, but the fund kept them private. They had disagreements about money and the report, which suggested that Madeleine might have had an accident. The police in Portugal and the UK got the pictures by October 2009, but they were not shared publicly. Kate McCann didn't use these pictures in her book, though she mentioned how important these sightings were. This whole situation kept many people from around the world hooked, following every development and hoping for answers about what really happened to Madeleine. In October 2013, Scotland Yard showed new facial images on a BBC Crime Watch show. This was to help recreate what might have happened on a specific day. Right after this show, the Sunday Times claimed that the McCanns had these images since 2008, but hadn't shared them. This upset the McCanns because the article suggested they kept the images confidential and didn't even show them to the police. They felt this was unfair and misleading, so they filed a complaint against the newspaper. The newspaper had to say sorry in one of its pages, and the McCanns went on to win £55,000 from the lawsuit. Jerry McCann said this money would go to charity. From the start, the Portuguese police were unsure about the McCanns, thinking they were turning the situation into a big media show. Jerry McCann admitted to Vanity Fair that he tried to keep Madeleine in the news by marketing her story around the world. This approach brought many PR experts to Praia da Luz. The local police didn't like this because they thought too much media attention was making things worse. The media started showing doubts about the McCanns, too. At a press meeting in Berlin, a German reporter directly asked if they were involved in their daughter's disappearance. Not long after, a lengthy article in a Portuguese newspaper called Sol labeled the McCanns as suspects. It pointed out what it saw as parts of their story that didn't match up and hinted that a reported sighting of Madeleine might have been made up. Reporters even got hold of private phone numbers from the Tapas 7, a group of friends dining with the McCanns the night Madeleine disappeared, and another witness. This showed that details from the investigation were getting out. Articles in Portugal that were also talked about in the UK then accused the McCanns and their friends of lots of things without any real proof. These stories spread widely online. They included accusations like inappropriate behavior, giving their kids illegal substances, and having an agreement to keep quiet about what happened that night. The police found some differences in the stories told by the McCanns and their friends. This was partly because of language issues, as questions were asked in Portuguese and then translated into English. Kate McCann mentioned that their statements were written in Portuguese and then read back to them in English for approval. One key issue was about how the McCanns checked on their kids the night Madeleine went missing. At first, Jerry said they used the front door, which was locked, for checks around 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. later. He mentioned using the back patio doors, which were left unlocked for easier access. This caused confusion over whether the front door was ever locked. Jerry later explained that they had used the front door earlier in the week, but switched to the patio doors later because they were nearer to the children's room. Another point of confusion was when Kate found Madeleine missing. Instead of using her phone or calling out from the apartment's back balcony, she ran all the way to the tapas restaurant, leaving their twins alone in the apartment. Also, questions arose about whether the shutter on the window of Madeleine's room could be opened from outside. Was Madeleine's discovery the result of dedicated detective work, or is there more to the story that's yet to be revealed? Let us know your thoughts, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.